Hello, today's October 16th, and we're here with business and security. I said that like a question because I couldn't remember
You got
topics. I did.
Mine like a steel trap.
Yeah, just not forgetting basic things immediately.
It's a week doesn't go by that we don't talk about good old Comcast. And it's time after time. We're so conditioned at this point to just be like, okay, so what? Yeah, they did it again. Big whoop.
Comcast incorrectly charged 2,000 customers for exceeding the data cap. 2,000 customers is a lower bound here. Comcast will not tell us how many customers were actually charged. This is also not the first time we've reported this. This happens quite regularly. Comcast said, oh, this was so widespread, we're going to issue credits and refunds.
And you get extra $50
Yeah.
for your troubles, which is good for half your data cap next time.
Yeah, this article names the specific number of, like, most of the Comcast markets, they actually do charge you when they go over a data cap. And it's something insane, but you can pay $50 more and they won't charge you when you go over, but they'll still complain about it.
So one guy figured out, he was like, there is no way I'm using that data. It's not happening. He called him up and they're like, sir, you're using it. Don't argue. Do you know we're Comcast.
Do you know who we are?
We will not tolerate your insolence.
Obviously, you're an idiot customer.
So he was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to be out of town. I'm just going to pop that cable out of the wall. And we'll see. I'll look at my meter when I get back. 40 gigabytes. That's what he spent when he had unplugged his modem. So after proving that, they actually looked into it. Yeah, technical glitch.
Meanwhile, there's forums on the internet are just littered with people being like, I don't understand how I went over my data cap. I don't understand.
And coming in a close second to Comcast is AT&T, who, when it comes to extra fees, data caps are nasty, right? But at least you can kind of understand them, except for when they cheat and lie about them. But this one, no one can understand this one.
AT&T raises prices by 7%, making its customers pay AT&T's property taxes. So there's this article is about a guy that entered into a contract with AT&T after Comcast was screwing him on a promotion or something. And it was $95 a month for his service. And all of his contracts, his paperwork doesn't say anything about any extra fees. So then he got an extra fee that was a 7% increase like 2 or 3 months after he started a 1-year contract. There had been previously there were no fees. Then he got a fee that was about 7% of his bill that was like AT&T is recouping property taxes. And it's like, that doesn't even seem, that's not ethical. And how are they allowed to do this? Is this a result of Ajit Pai's FCC? Because I feel like it is. Somehow Ajit Pai is involved here.
He personally put that tax on there.
Like, there was probably a call that was like, we're going to do this. Are you okay with this? And he's like, sounds good to me. That's actually brilliant. I mean, that's...
Good job, guys.
What an amazing way to deliver value to shareholders. It's incredible.
Like, the real question is there anything I can do? Because I want to be a part of it.
Dude's bill went up 7%. And it's like, wait, we're in a contract. And they're like, no, this kind of thing is completely okay when you're under this kind of contract. We can just arbitrarily increase it. And then Ars Technica said, what market are they in that their property tax would go up 7%? Is it possible that the property tax actually went up 7%? Spoiler alert, no. There's no chance that the AT&T's property taxes went up 7% year over year. They're going to pocket the extra money. That seems like that's fraud. Doesn't that seem like fraud? Like, if a citizen were doing this, that seems like it would be fraud.
This picture's great.
It really is.
I assume they photoshopped in the stripes, right?
Yeah. That's definitely a filter tool.
Yeah, that's nice. Supposed to be like AT&T's Death Star logo, but yeah.
Pretty good job, Ars Technica.
Definitely fraud.
So we talked about Blizzard and the people of Hong Kong, who Krista doesn't care anything about.
Right.
She would rather capture the point than capture democracy. But other game companies, having seen the epic backlash, I screwed that up.
We're just stumbling over words today.
Have weighed in and said that they will not make the same mistake.
Unlike Blizzard, Epic Games says it won't ban players for political speech. The real surprise here, Epic has a much larger ownership percentage of the Chinese company Tencent than Blizzard. It's like 5% versus 49.
Well, I think that's kind of why they felt they had to get in front of it. So like, okay, we're Chinese owned, but we're gonna let you say whatever you want to say. Don't worry. So, I guess that's good. I think there was a couple other companies said some things too, right? I can't remember who they were, but kind of sad that you have to explicitly come out and say in 2019, hey, you can go ahead and say what you want without fear of being erased or your money clawed back or banned or whatever. Blizzard employees themselves made a bit of a sad effort, honestly. I'm going to say, to make their own statements about the whole situation.
Blizzard employees stage a walkout over the Hearthstone Pro player ban. This happened before Blizzard changed their position to re-award the guy the prize money, but not a lot of Blizzard employees walked out. It didn't make the news in a lot of places.
I think it was like 24.
Yeah.
Well, and they did I don't know if it was the same group, but someone also put like a piece of paper over the sign outside. Like there was a statue that said like every voice matters, and someone just like erased it.
Yeah. In a very non-permanent way.
Yeah.
After Blizzard walked it back, next week they should only walk halfway out. So, because that's...
Or only 12 people instead of 24 should walk out. It's like, all right.
Some people have come out in the wake of all this and said, oh, you guys are surprised? We've been dealing with this for years.
Apple told some Apple TV show developers not to anger China. So yeah, Apple TV in developing their product, in preparing this, prepared a lot of helpful documentation about like, don't show China in a negative light, don't, bring attention to any of the stuff that's going on over there. It was a helpful memo. So clearly Apple knows about this kind of stuff internally.
Yeah, and they know that the Chinese government will not tolerate it. And I know we've said this before, but it bears repeating. The thing to remember here isn't that like China's bad and we need to, walk out and boycott and whatever. I mean, do that if you feel like it. But the thing you have to remember is these are not American companies. These are global corporations.
Yeah. They
don't really care. As long as the money's there, and China is a massive market, they're gonna do what they have to do to be there. That's how it's working. And when you identify with these corporations like Apple, like, oh, look at my Apple products. I'm such a proud, and I'm a hipster, and they're forward thinking and they're woke and they love the trans people. No, they love money.
And there was a lot of that in this article of like, I can't believe they would do this.
Yeah, and if the people of Hong Kong have to get shot for them to make that money, guess what?
It's probably also worth mentioning that the situation in China is such that the physical office, like the Blizzard office employees, could potentially face arrest if they don't do what is commanded. So like if you're a global multinational and you care about the people in your regional office, that might also shape what you have to do to get them out.
But knowing that, you still staff people there because it's cheap.
Yeah.
So it's always a choice.
Yeah.
Google is not immune to all this. They had their own little tiny outrage, although it was mostly looked over because, look at what the other people were doing. But still.
Google has pulled a Hong Kong protester game from the store. This game was the definition of poor taste. And Google said, we're just going to pull this. And they cited a clause in their terms of service that said that developers can't take advantage of potentially sensitive situations that are developing around the world. Which
was it in poor taste, though? I didn't see it.
I didn't see it
I read
either.
the description. It was basically like a text adventure.
Yeah,
where you tried to make decisions for the protester.
You had to like gather weapons or like avoid a thing. And the description that I read of the game, I didn't see it in operation, but the description I read of the game seemed like it was in poor taste.
I can see how they just wouldn't want anything to do with this. And I guess because it was a paid game, it does point more toward money grab. But I don't know if for sure it was.
Well, that developer can do an experiment, re-release it as a free game, and let's take a look.
Ad supported.
Post it on GitHub.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if it was ad supported and Blizzard bought ads on it?
Oh.
Diablo Mobile.
This isn't any fun. You should be playing Diablo.
Y'all have phones, don't you?
We talk a lot about the inherent insecurity of unsecured traffic on the internet, and Google is kind of at the vanguard of let's just encrypt everything. That solves the problem, right? And it does, which is why ISPs are terrified of it.
Why big ISPs are not happy about Google's plans for encrypted DNS. DNS over HTTPS will make it harder for ISPs to monitor or modify DNS queries. ISPs' arguments here are that in order for CDNs and local caching and things like that to work, they need to be able to modify DNS records. But companies like Netflix have no intention of encrypting the DNS records that are used for that kind of stuff. Like Steam, for Steam caching, ISPs can save a lot of bandwidth by caching Netflix movies and Steam games locally in the ISP's office. It doesn't have to hit the internet. Those companies are not planning to encrypt that type of DNS traffic, so that is a lie. This is an easy way for ISPs to see what your habits are online so they can sell demographic data and ad data.
And to inject. Remember that, which was it, Comcast, that was just popping ads in?
Oh, yeah, an unencrypted. That was an unencrypted HTTP traffic, but yeah, same kind of thing.
And selling that data. Now, they also said that Google was just trying to hijack, because Google offers DNS servers. They're like, no, Google wants to run all the traffic through their server and collect that data. And I'm sure that, was brought up at the meeting, but Google was smart enough to be like, no, we can't do that. That's too far. Maybe next year. But we can't do that right now. So
you can do the same kind of thing with OpenDNS or any other DNS provider. It's easy to do. You can even, there is a big push for like if you just have a domain name that you implement DNS security for the domain, the parts of your domain name that should be secure to prevent spoofing or anything else.
Here at Level 1 Techs, we are old and out of touch. And as such, we don't get into any of the mobile gaming.
It's
at
terrible.
Least, I don't think, right?
Mobile gaming is just terrible.
Other than like Pixel Dungeon?
Pixel Dungeon is awesome. Like that kind of a game for mobile is great. This kind of a game for mobile, terrible.
But you say it's terrible, and clearly...
You don't know.
Yeah.
That's like saying country music is terrible. I agree with you, but a lot of people don't. And we can't, it's subjective. So we can't make those blanket statements. And this just proves that.
Call of Duty Mobile smashes records with 100 million downloads in the first week. There were a lot of people streaming this. There were a lot of people streaming how to set up streaming with this so that you can stream from your phone.
Wow. Millions of parents cry over their data plan.
A lot of branches in that rabbit hole. So yeah, and this was mostly just the Western world, right? It's not in China yet.
Yeah.
So that's going to be another huge boom when they get it in China. So I don't get it, but it's out there and people love it.
I assume sorry. I was going to say, I assume it's people who don't have other like consoles or PCs or stuff like.
That's what I was going to say. I believe this is free.
Yeah.
This is ad supported, so that makes sense.
I could see also that people will play that when they have no choice. It's like, high school students, like they don't have a laptop or anything else, or it's too obvious that they're playing a game on their laptop. But playing a game on their phone, they can sneak and do that.
But the data fees there.
Yeah, that would be.
It seems like that would be bad.
It's got to be massive, right? Do you think one of those Rwandan phones could run Call of Duty Mobile?
Well, most schools probably have Wi-Fi, so you can probably get the phone on the Wi-Fi. They haven't figured out how to block it yet, probably, because they've got encrypted DNS.
They'll do, like at the beginning of the semester, you pay $200 to cover your kids' mobile gaming while they're eating lunch. Rwanda phone. You think Rwanda phone runs that?
No.
Probably doesn't have the graphical
horsepower
for that.
They're missing out. They can play Pixel Dungeon, though.
Yeah. Or Plague Inc. I liked Plague Inc. on the phone. It was all right.
Like I said, we're out of touch. We don't know what the youth of America is into. We're confused and scared of it.
That's why the algorithm is sending people away.
I'm literally, when I see those people with those like ear spacer things, I'm just like, oh, I physically recoil. And I realize that makes me just like a bitter old man. But I can't stop it. It's who I am. And this is another one where the teens have shifted into a new paradigm that we don't understand.
Teens choose YouTube over Netflix for the first time, according to a new survey.
I actually understand that. That makes sense.
Yeah, actually,
to me.
I'm probably like Netflix is number one by a long shot for me as well.
So, yeah. Teens like content on Netflix. Google was aware of this. That's why they started trying to do like YouTube Red and YouTube Originals. But teens don't really care about that either.
No, they're choosing YouTube over Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because sure, Netflix has a lot of options, but does it have a guy who's reviewing crossbows? No. And that's the kind of content I want.
And the FPS Russia guy's not gonna. He'll be out of jail soon, probably.
It's
Awkward silence there.
only been a couple of years. How many years has it been? I bet it's been like way more
A lot.
than I'm comfortable with realizing.
Yeah, since the
But-
PlayStation 4.
I managed to skip this entire console generation. So, again, old and bitter. But now a new one is upon us.
Sony confirms PlayStation 5 name and a holiday 2020 release. That's not this Christmas. That's next Christmas.
What's coming out this Christmas, though? I need to buy something.
New processors.
Yeah, well, nothing in the console world. Well, they got
That's unacceptable.
They got a new kind of Switch, but it's just basically the same Switch. Now, the one thing that excites me about this is they've gotten rid of the Rumble and they've decided to go with haptic feedback, which includes dynamic trigger buttons. I've always thought it would be super cool if the trigger for a gun in a video game could have a breakpoint like a real trigger. And if you yank it like a real trigger, your shot would go off. Someone needs to do that. Teach these Call of Duty kids that guns don't work like that. Trigger discipline. And then when somebody streams on Twitch and murders people, they'll be really good at it.
Oh.
Speaking of video game consoles, some of them might turn out to be vaporware.
Atari VCS lead architect quits, claims 6 months of design work went unpaid. This was like one of the first stories we covered on the Level 1 news. And the fact that this console is still not out, there's a serious problem somewhere. The dudes could literally fly to China, get this thing made in about 3 weeks.
But the guy who quit was one of the original Xbox guys.
Yeah.
So he wasn't just some scrub who they found, you know, what's the Chinese kid's name?
He sung?
He sung. It wasn't he sung. This guy had some real clout. But yeah, he was like, I really wanted to be dedicated to this project. I wanted to see it through, but it's been 6 months and they haven't paid me. And I don't think it was just him. I think like he had a company that was doing, and his whole company was, and he was out of pocket paying those people.
I'm surprised that it lasted for 6 months. Honestly, after the first month, I'd be like, yeah, we're done here.
But I remember when they brought this out, we thought, was that just going to be a retro thing? And it was like, no.
They talked about it running Android, which made no sense.
Or is it going to be like Play Store, like you say? Or are we going to run and they were like, no, it's none of those things. But we're not going to tell you what it is. So it's nothing. Sad. Here's a cool new feature. When we used to stream on Twitch, we used to do multiplayer games only, and it's kind of weird that there's not as many 3 to 4 player multiplayer games as you would think. You run through the library pretty quickly.
People ask us all the time, can you play this? It's like, we've played that before.
Yeah.
We've literally played like almost every game on Steam that's multiplayer.
And it's kind of frustrating because some of the games you'll see and it's like, oh, 4 player. Oh, it's local co-op only. Well, there's a solution.
Steam's next big feature will make any local multiplayer game work online. The late October launch supports up to 4 computers and requires only 1 copy of the game. So this is like the split screen thing. You remember like GoldenEye for the Nintendo, Super Nintendo?
64.
Nintendo 64. Yeah, it's like that, except it just automatically knows and figures it out. That's neat.
Pretty cool.
Supposed to be the end of the month.
It's basically that same technology as the streaming from a more powerful computer to another screen.
It seems like this would be really problematic for games like Broforce, though.
I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of delay.
I think Broforce has legit multiplayer, though, so maybe it's okay.
But what's the Stadia, right?
Oh, yeah.
How popular is that?
It's going to be insanely popular.
Isn't it out?
It's not in wide release.
But that whole thing, if you can do that, you can do this, right? No different. So, pretty cool. Tell us how it works for you, although it won't be out by the time you watch this.
It will be out in a few weeks, though.
SpaceX, we talk a lot about SpaceX, and they really do make rapid progress. I mean, they're constantly launching those rockets and landing them and doing cool stuff.
Fail fast.
Running old people out of their homes. They get it done, and they get it done quick. And NASA is saying, hey, it's time.
NASA aims for the first manned SpaceX mission in the first quarter of 2020, if things go on schedule. Things never go on schedule with Elon Musk, so probably summer 2020.
The big thing that's yet to test, the parachutes. They don't work quite right yet.
Fail fast.
Are those the individual parachutes or like the capsule parachutes?
Capsule.
Okay.
The actual human beings are the ones that they're worried about.
Is the capsule going to try to do a safe landing on a platform? And if that doesn't work, then they parachute?
I think the parachutes are a fail-safe.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I don't know how confident I'd feel doing this for the first time, but
we don't need the parachute.
Well,
it's going to land on the platform.
they're going to test it a bunch of times first, but the first test didn't go that great.
yeah.
So
Listen, if it doesn't land on the platform, it's going to land in the ocean at 200 miles an hour. They'll probably be fine.
it's good. You know what's going to cushion the fall? Old people living in that community that they're trying to buy that won't sell them their houses. New form factors. We're kind of getting hit with a lot of new form factors for phones right now. We got the Fold phone, we got the Duo, and
Keyboard phones.
It seems like the big giant phablet phones are shrinking back down.
Yeah.
But this company has something totally unique.
Essential reveals Project Gem, a smartphone with a very long, very unusual design. The guy that designed this is the guy that did the Sidekick for T-Mobile. So he's like, wants us to rethink phones. It's like,
I don't know how I feel about this.
Show the remote for the air conditioner. There it is. So now these they're kind of sexy. Look at the backs of them.
I mean, they're pretty. I don't know. As a designer, I'm frustrated because it's like, oh, it's another damn screen size to design for.
That width, no website is going to display properly on that width. That's ridiculous.
I went through looking for pictures of somebody typing something to somebody else with one of these. There's not any.
Oh, yeah, the keyboard.
Yeah.
You know what would have to do? You'd have to turn it sideways, and the keyboard would have to split.
Yeah.
Which you could get good at that.
That might not be terrible, but that's probably why they don't show it, because like the traditional keyboard with that, terrible experience.
Would not work, yeah.
Yeah, that's I didn't even think about the web browsing. That is going to be a nightmare for that thing.
It's a whole new fresh hell for us to enjoy as developers.
Apparently not even Android can render properly. They're having to work on like special versions to get it to fit in that crazy form factor.
Well, obviously that will have been worth the effort and totally won't, result in a unsupportable device that's dead in a year and a half.
It's like a nice concept. It's like something that looks nice in your portfolio on Behance, but in real life, it's not really totally feasible.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Unless you can like stretch it somehow and then compress it. Like maybe there's some kind of
Don't give
display
them more
technology
ideas.
where it's like.
Yeah, but now we're in the Samsung world of like, it's never going to work. It's going to last for 120,000 folds.
It's like, some of the pixels are messed up.
Yeah. We talked about the people are angry about the multiple cameras that go in today's smartphones to make those giant pictures, and they're afraid of them, and Chris is afraid of them.
I'm not afraid of those. I have tryptophobia. This doesn't trigger it though.
But there might be a solution that can save our poor people. We had a lot of YouTube commenters that supported that. They hated it.
Researchers created a lens 1,000 times thinner to hopefully eliminate ugly smartphone camera bumps. So instead of a curved lens, it's numerous submicroscopic concentric rings that have different optical properties that combine the light like a curved lens would, but is actually flat.
I resented the fact that like in the beginning of this article they're like, sometimes function has to take precedent over aesthetic, and I was like, that's the way it should be though. Like what?
It needs to work well first.
Yeah.
So they compare it to the solar boilers, where like each solar panel is slightly different angle to focus on the center boiler to make the electricity. So it's that kind of thing where the lens is not a smooth curve, which is interesting. I wonder if that results in any kind of weird like blurring or stretching at the edge of large photos or anything like that.
Does this really like? Is anyone like, I really wanted that new iPhone with the new cameras, but it has a slight bump and it really bothers me.
Yeah, apparently people are they're freaking out because the scary spider eye.
That doesn't necessarily fix it though, like because they want to have the 3 types of cameras, like they would still have to have.
But it'll be flush with the phone.
It still would produce the tryptophobic effect.
Oh,
I would think so. Yeah.
So I thought the problem was not the big holes, but these little holes that are created because of the.
No. I think even if those were sunk down, you would still get that effect.
Well, there's just no pleasing you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't bother me, but I mean, if you're tryptophobic, tell us in the comments.
We can use the extra room on the inside created by not having to have a stack of those elements like that to put in a tiny mechanical apparatus that spins. So instead of having to have 3 cameras, we can have 1 camera that has a rotating interchangeable lens.
How about?
That just seems like something that you're introducing something that can mechanically fail.
But no, how about this? Frosted glass that only unfrosts when it's turned away from you. So you never have to see the horror that's lurking below.
A literal Schrodinger's lens of
They do that in dressing rooms. They have those doors that like frost.
Exactly,
when you
right.
close
Yeah.
it,
So you don't know what's under there. It's not scary holes. Don't think about it.
But how do you take a selfie, Ryan?
there's spiders under this frosted glass.
Well, can you use the front camera for selfies?
Oh yeah, I guess you would.
Which
The front
doesn't-
camera sucks though.
Well, once again,
Not on the new iPhone 11.
Oh.
It's got the new.
there's just no satisfying you and your whole phobia. We have had story after story this year and a little bit last year of men in power who maybe don't quite understand that there are rules that are getting more and more strict about how you interact with other people and even say things. You don't have to actually necessarily do something to someone. You just make a really poorly timed and thought out comment.
Wall Street Journal has this article about the Red Hat CFO has lost out on a retention bonus of like $4-point-something million following a standards-related ouster. So they were dismissed from IBM as the CFO, and we don't have any details on what exactly happened here, but it may have created liability for the company.
Well, they do say it was workplace related. So you got to think that it's the mind, and we don't have any evidence of this. This is pure speculation, but the mind immediately goes to sexual misconduct. Maybe a racial slur.
Maybe both. Who can say?
Maybe he went on an insulting spree like in RimWorld.
I hate when they do that.
Yeah,
There are consequences.
that's tough. It always results in a fist fight.
It's too bad in RimWorld you can't create like a box that's like, it's like lock them in the box for a day and they'll learn not to do that. So, okay.
You know, they tried that with autistic kids and there was some outrage.
I thought that was like a preferred therapy for autistic children because like
Locking them in a box.
well, not lock. Okay, taking them out of an overwhelming situation and putting them in a quiet, dark space.
I think the lock was the
problem.
Yeah, that was the issue. Electric cars don't make noise. I mean, they make a little bit of noise, but they don't make much noise. And we've already seen some lawsuits and people worried about, it's like, hey, because let's face it, most people are staring at their phone, right? And you're staring at your phone. The Tesla is letting the car drive while he, makes a milkshake, and you don't see it. The car doesn't stop. What needs to happen here? Clearly, they need to make stupid noises.
Bizarre but true, Tesla cars soon to have fart and goat noises to warn pedestrians. Tesla's reportedly started to roll out the pedestrian noisemaker for the Model 3 sedan. The noisemakers are designed to produce a sound when the electric vehicle is running below 30 kilometers an hour in the forward and reverse direction. So the reverse direction actually will have even a different sound because people don't necessarily know that the Tesla is backing out.
Oh, that's going to seem so clever and fun when your car is farting for the first 10 minutes. And then you're going to think about stop and go traffic and everybody's car is farting and goat noising.
I have to say, that would probably be funny to me. But I'm a
again,
child.
again for 10 minutes. It's going to be funny for 10 minutes. And some people are going to be obnoxious and they're going to get like nails on a chalkboard or baby crying.
Oh.
Yeah, this is going to go bad. Now in Europe, got to give it up to Europe. They were like, no, it's going to be a car noise. Make a car noise, idiot. That's all you get.
We should hack that and make it like pip pip cheerio or something. It's like,
This is America, land of the free. You can make your car fart if you want.
Well, I guess I have to agree that we shouldn't. Your car farting is free speech, but it's stupid and you shouldn't do it.
I'm going to do it. I don't own a Tesla, but if I did.
You're going to buy one just for that?
Just for
Spend
that
50
feature.
grand so you can make your car fart.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Oh, so, Wendell, imagine you were told on Wednesday, hey, on Saturday, no power.
That would be difficult.
Prepare.
Yeah.
Get your batteries charged.
Yeah, you would get like a laptop. You would be fine.
Yeah.
Well, not everybody was as prepared. This story doesn't talk about it, but because this was like before it happened. It did happen.
There's a guy that died.
One guy died.
Yeah.
Utility giant PG&E voluntarily shuts off power. It could impact 800,000 California customers. There was a dude that was really, really sick and on oxygen, and he didn't make it to his battery-powered thing in time, so he died.
So they're doing this because of wildfires. There were supposed to be like really high winds, I think, last week, and as a preemptive measure, like we're just gonna cut the power to the lines so that way, when they inevitably fall, because we haven't upgraded the infrastructure, it won't cause a forest fire.
Yeah, the last time it happened, it did kill like 20 or 30 people.
Yeah.
Well, that was the campfire, right? And they were blamed for that. So I think they may be in the right place here, although there were a ton of tweets of people like, hey, it's a gentle breeze. Why is my power off? There's no wind.
It's like, listen, those transmission lines are currently enduring 70-mile-per-hour winds 300 miles away, so you're just going to have to wait.
Yeah, and it was like a rolling blackout type thing, so they were supposedly following the windstorm. But
the other thing, too, is like, I think they told people who were on some sort of life support or needed hospital care, they're like, you're just going to have to go to the hospital. And it's like, who pays for that? Like,
but here's an important exception. Those people had to go to the hospital, but the big tech companies exempted.
Of course.
Yeah, because this is like, Silicon Valley type stuff. And nope, can't shut down those campuses.
It's another situation like RimWorld, really. It's like instead of a solar flare, it's a windstorm, which is a little more disappointing.
Yeah. Security problems are always unpleasant, but they are perhaps most unpleasant when you get that phrase, will not patch.
D-Link home routers open to remote takeover will remain unpatched. And I was hoping that this was a vulnerability that only happened when you logged into your router. It's not.
Nope. In fact, it allows people to log into your router and run commands, even if they don't have the password. And then they can pull the password.
It's real bad. Scroll down. What models was it? These are end-of-life models.
It's these.
It's the DIR 655, the DIR 866L, the 652, and the 1565. So if you're running one of those D-Link products, you're going to need to replace it. It needs to be replaced entirely.
It probably was already time to upgrade, but it is pretty common to just run a router forever, because...
We at Level 1 took care of you. The very first video that we did was on building a router using pfSense, which is a free and open router operating system. You can turn an old PC into a router, so you should go do that right now.
I believe it was the early part of this year, right, when the Supermicro thing happened?
Yep.
It was back during the winter. So there was this big, was it Wall Street Journal? Who was the ones that reported it?
Bloomberg.
So Bloomberg reported that Supermicro had these Chinese spy chips, and they were added to the board after the fact, and it was terrifying, and they were infiltrating everything, and blah, blah, blah. But it was weird because everybody else, including Supermicro and their customers, said, nope, they're not there. We don't have those. And we never really got any closure there.
No.
Yeah, it just kind of fizzled out.
Yeah, so we don't have the proof, but one security researcher says, no, I think it's true because I can do it.
Planting tiny spy chips in hardware can cost as little as $200. A new proof of concept hardware implant shows how easy it may be to hide malicious chips inside IT equipment. So this guy opted not for a Supermicro server, but a Cisco ASA 5505. That is an Atmel AtTiny 85, and he's just piggybacking on the RS-232 serial bus. This hack it's pretty genius, but it's also dead simple. When this device is first powered on, there's not really a password. You can do the password recovery thing. He just goes through, does the password recovery, sets himself up with an admin account, and then as soon as this thing's on the internet, if he can get to it over the internet, he can log in with the admin account that chip added. So it wasn't any kind of modification or compromise of Cisco's software. He's literally using a feature of the software to create an account for himself, and done correctly, an administrator is probably not going to notice that.
Now, you might be thinking, hey, bro, that is not like a grain of rice. That's actually kind of big. It's one of the bigger chips on that thing. But that's actually not state-of-the-art technology.
No.
That's actually kind of old.
Yeah.
And like he said, $200. So cheap to do. If the Chinese government was doing this, it'd be a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you use sulfuric acid to dissolve the thing there, you could probably get it underneath something else and then just use lacquer to seal it. That's actually been a thing that's like some of the stuff that Edward Snowden leaked is exactly those things. So the Supermicro thing might have been a supply chain attack targeting a specific customer. We don't know.
It's a common trope in fiction that the good guys are actually treated as the bad guys, right? They're hated by authority.
See every Marvel movie.
Yeah, the people they protect are Batman, Spider-Man, Ninja Turtles. The list is unending. It goes on and on. But now we have a new name for that list, a true hero.
A white hack has hacked the Muhstik ransomware gang and released the decryption keys. So this is ransomware, and he was able to break into their ransomware command and control server and dump all of the encryption keys for everybody that had been affected by this. And those are now on the public internet, and he's even written a tool to help you decrypt your stuff. So if you were hit by this ransomware, you can now decrypt your stuff.
I love, I think he was German, right? And
Yeah.
he's got all these broken English tweets. Anybody that tweeted about this, he responded, and he was like, I know what I did was illegal, but I got the keys. Here, go and save yourself. And they do point out that, yes, he did break a law doing this. And he admitted so on Twitter. He was like, I know this was illegal, but I think it's for the best. So, yeah, he was a victim, and he paid. So he not only did he, vigilante and save us, he suffered for our sins.
It's like putting some sort of explosive in the money in the ransomware, or a tracking device in the ransomware. It's like, we can see where your criminal operation.
A level of petty I aspire to.
Well, once he decrypted, he was able to take apart their code and get the server addresses out of that. And he was like, oh, I can hack that server. So good guy. Maybe send him some Bitcoin or something. We often talk about smart TVs, and your attitude towards smart TVs should be not even once.
A hallmark of the sign of the decay of civilization.
And it seems like everybody is now learning that.
Smart TVs are data collecting machines. A new study shows Roku and Amazon Fire TVs are tracking everything that you do, like everything else. So this is on The Verge. They're just now getting clued into this, but I've got lots of fun, interesting stuff if you still don't believe us.
So these guys, what they did was they bought a smart TV just out of the box, and they were monitoring their network. And they just installed every Roku channel that they could and simulated randomly flipping through the channels, right? And then watched the traffic. And the amount of tracking was just insane. Each of those Roku channels, which is kind of like a little app of its own, had its own tracking.
Neat.
Yeah, disgusting.
What an amazing future we live in.
So yeah, if you have a smart TV, for the love of God, don't let it anywhere near the internet.
I think Benjamin Franklin would probably be the only founding father to understand this kind of stuff after 15 or 20 minutes. What do you think he would think about all this? He would just be like, no, this is a mistake. Just burn it all.
Images appear on this box when you tell it to? That's what he would think.
I didn't think he would freak out about that, but...
No, he would be like, where's the militia? Did we wrote an article, literally we laid out what you do in this situation. What? We should be burning the White House.
Hell, I'll start tally-ho, lads.
I thought we made it pretty clear. I thought, the tree of tyranny and the blood, or the tree of liberty, I mean. Yeah. He would be an enemy of the state. He would be in
Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah. Or what's the other one?
I forgot.
I can't remember the name of the other one. I'm trying to think. So we had Facebook.
Portal.
was listening to your recordings.
And watching you on video with Portal.
Amazon was listening to your recordings. Apple was listening to Siri recordings. Right? What's Google? I think Google got caught doing it too, right? And so the next one in line, obviously, the other big tech company.
Amazon workers may be watching your cloud cam home footage. So teams in India and Romania use video snippets sent by customers for troubleshooting purposes and to train artificial intelligence algorithms. Truly, the darkest timeline.
Now, you might be wondering, why would they need to do that? I understand that you're trying to train the AI when I'm asking things questions and it doesn't understand it. Why would they do this? Well, the argument is they want to try and make it safer for false positives for the security part of it. So they compared a cat jumping on a couch to a home invasion. And when the AI can't tell, it sends it off to somebody to watch it.
AI figuring out, I mean, how long before the AI calls the police over somebody's weird, like, sexual thing?
Or you get a text message in the middle of sex and it's like, Dave, that's not your wife. Would you like some numbers for a relationship therapist in your area?
That's really not that far removed from the dude that found out his daughter was pregnant through the advertising catalogs that were sent to her.
Oh, yeah. He was like, why is she getting these pregnancy things? And Target was like, I don't know.
Or all of a sudden he starts seeing like fully furnished efficiency apartments in the nearby area.
It's like, what does the algorithm know? What does it think? All right. We'll see you on Friday for even more nonsense.
Robots and nonsense.